Yo, what's up? What's up? This is your man Thatch the Great checking in once again. Let's get straight to it. Um, where do I start? Where do I start? First and foremost, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, then you most likely woke up this morning to the news that Donald Trump, 45, and soon to be our 47th elected U.S. president, he has somehow weaseled his way back into power in this beautiful country that we call the United States of America. So, how did the fuck did this happen? Seriously, how did this happen? And before I even get into it, I don't really consider myself to be a heavily political person. And when it comes to politics, I truly objectively review the policies and the overall plans that the parties present. And yet, in this particular scenario, there wasn't much thinking that really had to go into it, you know? Because if I'm being honest, first and foremost, there wasn't really a lot to consider. We've known Donald Trump's regime, we've known his poor moral character, we've known it for quite some time now. And it still bewilders me to hear so many people still blindly spew senseless rhetoric about his last presidency as if he did something good. We have so many morons in this country that say, oh, well, at least when Trump was in office, he gave us money. No, you bird brain imbecile. Donald Trump did not give you any money. We were going through one of the worst pandemics that we have ever seen in U.S. history. Legislature made provisions for stimulus checks to go out. Not Donald Trump. He had nothing to do with that. He was just a figurehead who was in office at the time. In case you guys don't know that, okay? And I don't want to get off tangent, but that's important to be said. Because there's a lot of people out there that think that somehow Donald Trump went in his own pockets. There actually are people that dumb that actually believe that. Believe it or not. Anyways. And in the time of need, when so many people are dying, so many people needed assistance, so many people needed help, Donald Trump, still being the absolute narcissist that he is, wanted to do something that has never been done before when it comes to relief aid. When it comes to relief aid being given out to the masses. He wanted to make sure that his name was present on the checks. And that's what gave people that money. And yet you have so many lemmings that just blindly want to believe that they actually believed it. How stupid can you be? And moreover, how dumb can you be to know that a man with absolutely no moral character to speak of, a man who has proven time and time again that he will do whatever is necessary to get one up on anyone, a man who was twice impeached as a president, never been done before, twice impeached, a man who is a sexual assault maven, a man who is proven to be a bigot and a xenophobic racist. Somehow this country, the United States of America, has allowed that same man to be re-elected as president. How did we get here? How the fuck did we get here? I honestly want somebody to tell me that. And I am not a Kamala supporter. No, not by a long shot. I am not a Kamala supporter. But when you're given two options and neither one of them is someone that you necessarily want to be the representative for this country that we live in, how do you choose? Do you choose the absolute ass clown who has completely stunk up his terms, or should I say he stunk up his 4 years when he was sitting as president of the United States, completely did nothing, did not help the overall advancement of the country in any way, did not do anything that was positive, and he constantly looked at the opposite party, the Democratic Party, in a very antagonistic manner. You know, he's absolutely stewed over the Democrats. He talked about the Democratic Party as if they were some warring country, some warring territory that he was against, When in actuality, we're all Americans at the end of the day. Donald Trump never once made it seem as if he was on the same side at the end of the day as the other party. And that's still the same mentality he obviously carries to this day. I mean, I don't know. I'm just perplexed. I'm perplexed. How did this happen? But you know, this election was very important because it gives us a very clear depiction of where this country currently is. We had two options, right? We could either choose this guy who actually has no character, no morals whatsoever, very, very much so willing to do any backbiting, do anything necessary to try to get to his agenda. And also someone who has made it very clear in the past that he wants to do all the things necessary to try to usurp power and get into a dictatorship where everything that he says is absolute rule. He wants an autocracy. He doesn't want a democracy. He wants autocracy. He wants complete autonomy. He wants to be a fucking tyrant. And some of you morons out there, some of you lemmings, some of you bird brains, just blindly follow this man. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So once again, we had two options. We could either choose this guy, who clearly has no clue what he's doing in or should I say, has no clue what he's doing in the presidential office. We could either choose him, the guy who was twice impeached, the guy who was paying hush money to strippers and whores, the same guy who tried to get 5 innocent black men sent not only to prison, but was asking for the death penalty. Talking about the Central Park 5 in case you don't know history. This same racist bigot is who the American public, or should I say the Electoral College, because it's not really but no, you know what? He won the popular vote. So that means the majority of this country also wanted to see him back in office when he did absolutely no good in his first term. Regardless of all the history, the muddied past, all the negativity, and that's who the American public wanted to put back in office. Instead of giving Kamala a chance. Do I think Kamala Harris was a great candidate to be president? Me personally, I don't. I think Kamala, personally, this is my opinion. I don't think she would have been a Democratic candidate if she was outright again. I think a lot of us believe that, right? She was kind of forced to piece things together last minute. Joe Biden, clearly, he just wasn't mentally sharp enough. His cognitive skills and his overall motor skills were clearly deteriorating in front of our eyes. The Democratic Party had to make a quick switch. They said, hey, she's VP. Who better suited to go ahead and maybe give that nomination to, and maybe we can throw together a campaign. So she had to kind of scramble. Because honestly, if they really wanted to have a good shot at it, they probably would have chosen someone along the lines of Gavin Newsom, somebody like that. But I'm sure Gavin Newsom was probably presented with that opportunity, but I'm almost positive that he would have turned it down because nobody wants to have to rush a presidential campaign when you need to be able to plan years in advance before doing so. So I understand why he didn't do it. But let's get back to Kamala, okay? I think her biggest misstep in her entire campaign trail is the fact that she tried to pander to specifically the black community in the wrong way. She did it in a way that was completely disingenuous, and it rubbed a whole lot of black people, specifically a whole lot of black males, it rubbed a lot of us the wrong way. She was legalizing marijuana over our heads as if that's some type of incentive. A lot of us don't smoke marijuana. So that doesn't really do anything for me. Now, true enough, I think marijuana should be legalized because there's many beneficial qualities to it. But the fact that she associated that with her plan for what the African American community wanted, that was kind of a slap in the face. And that was a misstep. I think she knows that now. But it just didn't seem like she really had a plan at all. And honestly, Donald Trump clearly doesn't have a plan either. So don't take what I'm saying as me co-signing Donald Trump in any way, because I think he is absolutely deplorable as a human being and as a politician. I think he's a joke, an absolute joke. But be that as it may, he will be the 47th president of the United States. The first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice and yet still somehow get a second term. The first president in U.S. history who's been convicted of many crimes that are now being swept under the rug, I'm sure. The first U.S. president to be caught giving hush money to whores and then trying to shut them up. This is the man who has to represent our country. And this is what some of y'all are proud to support. All right. So the question that I continue to come back to, right? How the hell did this happen? Because as you guys, when he ran against Joe Biden kind of smoked his boots. He smoked his boots. And just so you know, in case you haven't been paying attention, Joe Biden's his campaign was very successful. He did a lot of things the right way. And I also think that when Joe Biden ran, he had the luxury of being able to come in after Trump, who had did such a terrible job as president that people just wanted to get something new in there. They wanted to get somebody who was recognizable, and they wanted to get a breath of fresh air. That's what Biden was supposed to present to the world. Now, I don't think he was very effective as a president, but when you're going from somebody who's already setting the floor as far as how terrible you can be as president, he couldn't go any worse. And when he came in after Trump, people just wanted him to do a bit of a reset. Did he do any good? Me personally, his presidency didn't help me whatsoever. But then again, neither did Trump's. Or honestly, I can't tell you a president who's been in office where I have actually felt it in a beneficial way. That's why I don't put much stock into politics, at least not on that level. Whoever the president of this country is, it won't matter. It doesn't impact me. I'm still going to be on my program. I'm still going to be busting my ass to make sure that I'm doing all the things I need to do in my life. And that's the same way you should be living as well as an American. Stop waiting for someone to do something for you. Go do it for yourself. None of them have you in their minds. None of them are concerned about you. Nobody out there who's running for office gives a fuck about you. That's just the plain reality of it. So anyways, Biden, when he came in, the reason he smoked Donald Trump's boot states, flipped several states that had primarily been red states in the past. He flipped them. And now the reason that Trump was able to take back office is due to the fact that Biden, in turn, has left such a sour taste in people's mouth once again. And then his running mate, Kamala, who was chosen as the Democratic nominee, she has been so inactive in her time as vice president with Joe Biden that left a sour taste in people's mouths as well. And as I look at this map here, I can see that last night Donald Trump was able to flip. Wow. He flipped 3 major battleground states. He flipped Wisconsin, he flipped Michigan, and he flipped Pennsylvania. And last but not least, he also flipped Georgia back from blue to red. And if you guys know, it was a big deal when Biden ran against Trump because he flipped Georgia from red to blue, which had never been done before to my knowledge. So Trump flipped 4 states last night. And you know what that tells you, right? That tells you that America as a whole, the people that were on the fence before, the people that actually could be swayed, because let's be real, most people already have their minds made up, but the people that could be swayed, they decided to give that bastard a chance again. They decided to give that inept, incompetent man another chance in office because they were so dissatisfied with the job that Biden and Kamala Harris did. You know, I'm just looking at it objectively. That's what this means. Whenever you see 4 major states get flipped like that, that's exactly what that means. So with that being said, what does it mean now that Trump is back in office? What does it mean? Let me tell you what Trump being back in office means to me. Not a goddamn thing. Donald Trump being the president of the United States, you know, him being the leader of the free world once again, that doesn't change anything for me because, to be quite honest, None of his initiatives that don't exist yet, the ones that he said that he was thinking about creating framework for, but he didn't actually have anything tangible to state in the last debate. Clearly, he has no plan. His plan is to be a dictator. His plan is to have absolute power and to do whatever he wills, whatever he feels like doing. That is his plan. I will say this. I will say this. If I were someone who is currently in this country and who is undocumented, I would be very worried. Because one thing that I do feel that he is going to follow through on as quickly as he possibly can is the mass deportation of many people out of this country. So if you just happen to be in that criteria, you might want to start making some arrangements, some plans. Get yourself ready because it's coming. It is coming. That's one thing that he actually does plan on following through on. And with that being said, other than that, I couldn't tell you what I really think is going to happen as far as anything that is going to be positive about him becoming president again, because there won't be much positive. There's just going to be a whole lot of knee sucking from people who feel like they need favors from him. That's it. There's going to be a whole lot of cooning from black people, the same ones that voted for this man who absolutely no agenda whatsoever to help the advancement of African Americans whatsoever. It's going to be a whole lot of knee sucking from some coon ass motherfuckers out there. That's always the case. And then there's going to be a whole lot of kowtowing. There's going to be a whole lot of pandering from his party, seeing as he's back in office. And now even the people that dislike him, the people that despise him, the people who hate his guts are still, once again, going to fall in line. And they're going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they stay in his good graces. That he doesn't know exactly who is against him, who showed their cards, so to speak, over the last 4 years. Nah. We're talking about one of the most vindictive people who ever existed when it comes to political office. He hasn't forgotten any of that. I guarantee it. He is seriously going to be looking at a list and stewing over it on a daily basis, just wondering how he can bring their demise to these people who dared to go against him. I will say this, though, guys. If I'm being completely objective, just from a global standpoint, we had two options. And honestly, I think the world was going to look at us either weak or they were going to look at us as a joke, depending on which candidate we ultimately voted in. Because if we voted Kamala in and we had a woman leading the country, the majority of the powers in the world would look at the U.S. as weak all of a sudden. Because whether you think that it's chauvinistic or not, whether you think it's sexist or not, if we're just being completely honest and objective, the way the world still views things from the optics standpoint is the fact that if a woman is the person leading a country, for some reason, the rest of the world is still going to look at that country as being vehemently weak. Do I agree with that? Not necessarily. But that's simply the way the world is. Nobody can deny that. And optics do matter, especially on a global political standpoint. When it comes to war, when it comes to being able to strategize, when it comes to being able to deal with stress, when it comes to possibly being able to start, initiating nuclear codes if World War III comes. Most people just feel more safe. They feel more confident with a man at the helm to make those decisions. And if I'm being completely objective, men do tend to react and respond better in those kind of situations. So I will say that even though Donald Trump is an absolute clown, he's an absolute joke of a president, I will say that I do believe that if and when we come to that situation where we may be looking at a World War III in the next couple of years, and in case you guys haven't been paying attention to the way that, a lot of countries have been ganging up against the U.S. over the last 2 to 3 years. They're trying to devalue our currency. They're trying to take away our reserve currency status. They're trying to completely weaken the rest of the world's reliance upon us. And let's not get started on Russia and all of the things that Putin continues to try to do behind the scenes when it comes to possibly invading our shores. Putting submarines right in our backyard near Cuba. When it comes to all of these things that are currently going on around the world that most people are completely oblivious to, we had to have somebody at the helm who's at least crazy enough to be able to make some of the extremely hard decisions that may be coming along. And I will give Donald Trump that much. As immoral as he is, as much of a joke as he is as a president, when it comes to his personality as a man, I think that he would be crazy enough to do what may be necessary down the line. I will give him that. And that's pretty much the only thing that I will say about Donald Trump in a positive light, or from a positive standpoint. That's the only thing that I will say. I think that he might actually be willing to stand his ground and do whatever is necessary to defend the country. And he might be crazy enough to be the one to push the button first, which is kind of scary at the same time. So we had the options. Do we choose a guy who's looked at as a joke from the rest of the world, or do we choose the woman who would make us look extremely weak? And the American public showed us what their decision was. They decided to go with the devil that they already know, and that would be Donald Trump. Go with the guy who proved to be an extremely incompetent president in his first term. A guy who never answers any questions directly. All he does is deflect. He deflects and he tries to demean others. You know, time will tell. Time will tell. Maybe he will surprise us in this next term, you know. But I highly doubt it. And you know what's funny is that he completely tried to separate himself from Project 25. He said he had nothing to do with that. Let's see if he keeps his word. Let's see if that's actually true. Let's see if he actually keeps his word. Or will he completely flip-flop, do a 180, and all of a sudden start slowly but surely implementing initiatives from that plan? It would not surprise me one bit. It would not surprise me one bit if that man got into office again and started completely tearing this country apart piece by piece. All because he can. One thing we've already been able to see is that Donald Trump doesn't care about anyone but himself. He cares about no one's agenda. He cares about no one else's needs. The only needs he cares about is his own desire to exact and to implement absolute power. God help us as a country. We're going to need it. But what can you do in the meantime? What can you do to prepare yourself for when he gets back in office? Simple. Just keep grinding. Keep your head down. Keep doing everything that you need to do to provide for yourself and your family. Keep working on yourself to develop yourself, put yourself in the best position to keep making as much money as you possibly can, because this is going to turn into a zero-sum game where every single move you make is going to have a winner and a loser. But that's life. Life itself is a zero-sum game. Everything you do is pivotal, and it correlates to the next move in your life. Donald Trump is going to make it very hard for a lot of people. He's going to do a lot of nut-ass things. I think we all know this. The antidote to that is to stay on your game, stay on your shit, and don't put yourself in a position where you need anything from the government. It's time to do for yourself. Don't go looking for initiatives from the president. Don't go looking for policies that he's going to try to enact that are supposed to help you, because that's not coming. It's time to get on your shit and do for self. That's the only way. Aside from that, I don't really see much impact. I can't foresee much impact from what's coming from this man. Now, what I will say is that now that he's back in office, it's going to embolden a certain subset of society. The racists, the bigots, the people who were emboldened the first time to all of a sudden come out of hiding and start letting their voices be heard about just how much they don't like black people, Latinos, Asians, all other minority groups. You remember the Proud Boys, right? The ones that he told to stand back, stand by. He didn't tell. He disavowed himself from them. He didn't say that he separated himself from them. He told them, no, stand back and stand by. Meaning, y'all just wait in the wings until I'm ready to have y'all come through. What I will say is that I have a feeling that there are going to be a lot of people who all of a sudden get that courage again to come out of the woodworks. Lots of racists, lots of prejudiced people, lots of bigots that are once again going to come out in masses. So make sure that you are prepared. Make sure that you prepare yourselves. Make sure that you know how to defend yourself. Make sure you know how to handle weaponry. Make sure that you know how to handle heavy artillery. They have guns. I hope you got yours because I keep mine. I got a few of them. And extremely important is the fact that we need to teach our children how to handle this same heavy machinery. Because you better believe that those people, all those racists, all those bigots, all those pieces of shit who are just miserable with their own existence so they hate other people, all those people teach their kids how to use guns, how to use knives. They teach their kids that stuff. So make sure that you're doing the same with yours. You have to be prepared for what is ultimately going to come when you have this kind of bigot in office. Race war is an absolute possibility. I mean, we all know that racial tensions constantly run high in this country. And when you have someone like him, when you have someone like Donald Trump in office, who does a whole lot of dog whistle politics in his speeches, he's saying things that only a certain group of people will get and will pick up on that he's saying, kind of like he did when he told the Proud Boys to stand by. He is constantly feeding venomous rhetoric to his supporters, to his base. These people will do anything that he tells them to do. So how do we defend that? We have to have ourselves prepared. We have to be militarized. We have to be in formation, so to speak. We have to be prepared as a people. We have to be ready for whatever may come. So with that being said, you better believe more than you believe in God. The fact that I am ready and I am making sure that all of my family is ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I live my life by that mantra. We got some dark days ahead over the next 4 years. You better be prepared. I stay ready. Anyways, Decision Man, that's great. Just wanted to go ahead and address the election of our 45th and soon to be 47th U.S. President Donald Trump. God help America. 1.